Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Auburn Tigers set to hold a massive recruiting weekend this Saturday as they host the Georgia Bulldogs. And I want to start with this. This is something we talked about a lot in the summer. They brought in Hugh Freeze, not only because he's an offensive mastermind, and I think we're going to see improvements on the offensive side of the ball, but you bring in Hugh Freeze to recruit with the big dogs. And that was something that Brian Harsin just woefully failed at. And when you look at competing for SEC titles, competing for national titles, really where Auburn belongs, it starts with getting the talent to do so. And Hugh Freeze already off to a really good start building this 2024 class and in the transfer portal has a really good opportunity here to continue to stack talent in these recruiting classes to get Auburn where it needs to be. And again, when you take a look at what this team is going to look like from a talent standpoint in 2024 and 2025, that's, if you're an Auburn fan, what you're really, really excited about. Excited to get into who will be on campus for the Auburn Tigers. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support, especially from the Auburn fans. Y'all know how much I like talking this program, especially with Hugh Freeze at the helm. It's been phenomenal. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Almost 10,000 subscribers. That is truly an insane number. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown. And without further ado, let's get into this. And I want to first talk about who's going to be on campus that Auburn already has committed in the 2024 class. You have five-star wide receiver Perry Thompson, five-star linebacker DeMarcus Riddick, and really, in my mind, the face of this recruiting class, the quarterback Walker White. All of those guys will be on campus. And why I wanted to start there is at a certain point, the best recruiters that you have are already the guys committed to the program. And so you have some of the top guys in this 2024 class that will be on campus. They're going to be recruiting their tails off for some of these top targets to join this Auburn class in 2024. Now let's get into who's going to be on campus, who's not committed to the Auburn Tigers already. And it starts with the five-star safety from Buford, Georgia, KJ Bolden. If you guys remember, back when he was still opened up his recruiting process, I mean, Georgia had a lot of momentum. And then when it got to commitment week, it sounded like all the buzz was around the Auburn Tigers. Then late in that week, Florida State comes in and locks up the commitment. What I'd say from that, what I'm reading into that, is that this recruitment is far from over, and getting KJ Bolden on campus with guys like Walker White, Perry Thompson, DeMarcus Riddick, that gives Auburn a really good chance to continue to chip away at KJ Bolden. If there's a guy that's committed to another school that I think Auburn is still really in for, it has to be five-star safety KJ Bolden. He'll be on campus. The next guy I want to talk about, uncommitted, really interesting recruiting process. Five-star defensive lineman LJ McCray. Really interesting recruiting story for him. It sounds like the Florida Gators probably in the lead for him. He's a guy that was not really that coveted of a prospect as a sophomore, was playing tight end. He goes around to junior camps, and they're saying, hey, we got to get you on the defensive line. He's skyrocketed up the board. Auburn is certainly in on this one. You talk about a game wrecker, truly a kind of a culture changer on the defensive line. I think it's LJ McCray. Can play a lot of different positions. I see him more as like a big body on the inside, putting on some weight, being a true disruptor. LJ McCray, probably the top uncommitted target for a lot of programs, and especially the Auburn Tigers. The next guy I want to go to, 2024 class, just decommitted from the Georgia Bulldogs. And I will say, Hugh Freeze has had a lot of success with guys who have been decommitted or committed to previous schools and flipping those guys. Nycar would be a guy that I'm certainly having my eyes on. And you know, Hugh Freeze, with his track record of developing wide receivers, really developing offenses, like Auburn suddenly becomes a really attractive spot for these playmakers that it really wasn't under Brian Harsin. I mean, there were not many wide receivers and quarterbacks lining up to play for a Brian Harsin run offense. You look at this Hugh Freeze offense, and I get some growing pains early on in the season. I don't think they have the quarterback situation really figured out. This offense is going to get off the ground. Whether that's this year, whether it's next year with the transfer quarterback or Walker White, whoever it is, this offense will get going at some point. Guys like Perry Thompson, guys like Nycar will certainly want to flock to Auburn to play in that offense. Just decommitted to Georgia, certainly would have my eyeballs on four-star wide receiver Nycar. The next guy I want to go to, and this was an interesting one off the jump. Four-star defensive lineman Cam Fountain. He's committed to USC right now. The reason why I'm so interested in Cam Fountain is one, he committed to USC really early on in the spring, and a guy that it's just going to be a hard player for USC to hold on to, right? It's hard to get him on campus at USC. It's hard to get coaches out there to Atlanta, Georgia. He's across the country. I think Auburn is in a really prime spot to push for Cam Fountain. Again, right in their backyard in SEC territory. If they can emerge as the leader of the SEC suitors for Cam Fountain, you're looking at him committed to USC. Kind of feels like it's a little stale in the last couple months. If you're Auburn, you're certainly checking in and chipping away at Cam Fountain as well. You got a lot of guys who are committed to other schools that are on campus. Like, just continue to put in that work, chip away. If this Auburn team turns around in 2023 and it shows that it's going in the right direction, these are a lot of guys that come right down to signing day could certainly be on flip watch. You've already seen a lot of guys flip, decommit. Cam Fountain, certainly a guy for Auburn to keep your eyes on. Now I want to go to the 2025 class. The last guy I want to talk about, Antoine Hill. And again, what's the biggest problem for Auburn? It's not the running back position. It's not the offensive line. It really, I don't think, is the talent at the wide receiver room. It's a quarterback to run this Hugh Freeze offense, right? Peyton Thorne obviously has not met expectations of what you wanted. And you're seeing this Auburn offense really struggle. And I think solely because they just don't have a quarterback to run this offense. Antoine Hill in the 2025 class, you have Walker Wright in the 2024 class. If you can get Antoine Hill locked in, you're looking at a quarterback room that next year you're looking at. I mean, this is a drastically improved quarterback room. Antoine Hill, a really intriguing prospect. I'm going to read you his stats from his sophomore year. I mean, they're kind of jaw dropping. 40 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. He threw for 3,600 yards. You're getting an Antoine Hill who not only checks all the boxes physically, right? 6'5, 215 pounds, massive arm, really good athleticism, but he also checks the production on the Friday nights. I mean, this is a guy that as a sophomore in high school threw for over 3,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. He's going to come in with a ton of experience under his belt. Antoine Hill, Walker White, you talk about that quarterback room, and no disrespect compared to Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford. You got it. If you're an Auburn fan looking at the future of this quarterback room, you can land Antoine Hill. You're suddenly feeling a lot better about where this quarterback room is. Now, they'll have a bunch of other 2025 guys on campus as well. But what I want to talk about is win-lose for Auburn. I think Auburn's continuing to sell that you guys can be the group that changes the trajectory of this Auburn program, right? And I think that's a really interesting and strong selling point. I know Michigan, as a Michigan fan, that's what we were selling a lot of kids when we were getting whooped against Ohio State year after year after years. Hey, guys, come in and change how this is going. Versus if you're Georgia and Alabama, like you're just kind of the next group up. I think Auburn has a little something special to sell. It's a great environment, great fan base, historic program. You're selling, hey, be a part of this group that is something special that we can kind of build in. And people are going to look back on that 2024 and 2025 class group of guys that, yeah, they flipped the script. They turned this program around. I think that is something that you can sell. So even if you do not win this game against Georgia Saturday, you're still kind of selling these guys. And I think there's still a lot of hope that you can get some of these guys in that 2024 class. Again, Hugh Freeze was brought in to really reshape this Auburn roster from a talent standpoint. He's certainly doing that, has a massive opportunity this Saturday to continue to do that, building in the future. Auburn fans, again, appreciate you guys supporting the boys like you guys have. If you do enjoy the content, again, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you guys later.